Hello, this is the Stories Beside channel. I release videos every day for you. Subscribe and click the bell.
The apartment was abuzz with pre-wedding bustle. The happy bride put herself in the hands of her bridesmaids and watched in the mirror the last preparations before leaving for the wedding ceremony. "Nora, you are going to be the most beautiful bride." Helping to put on the dress, one of her friends spoke. "Such a gorgeous dress." Another remarked, "It must have cost a lot of money, right?" "Yes," blushing with pleasure, the bride replied. "Edward told me not to save money and to choose one I liked. I couldn't resist and bought this. It fits you perfectly. It looks like it was made especially for you. It really accentuates your figure. It makes you look like a queen. When I get married, I'll buy one just like it. The fit and the fabric are beautiful. You have great taste, Nora." Nora was looking at herself in front of the mirror, her blue eyes shining. Her lush dark hair had been skillfully styled by the hairdresser's hand into an intricate style. "You're lucky to have a fiancé," sighed one of the girls. "And where do such men come from?" "One is an alcoholic, the other has money, but he's so stingy. He's lucky to have me." Nora laughed, pleased with the effect on her friends. "Please straighten the hem. There are some creases." "Oh, girls," suddenly she realized. "Give me the necklace quickly. I almost forgot it." "Ah!" Opening the box, admired her friends. "It's fabulous. Nora, it is wonderful and looks so beautiful on your neck. You could be on the cover of a fashion magazine right now. You and Edward will outshine all the other newlyweds today. I'm so happy." Nora was glowing. "Edward, he's so wonderful, and I love him so much. But it took him too long to marry you, and I don't know why he took so long. I knew right away you two would make a wonderful couple. You even look alike. That's the first sign that you were meant to be together. At least we've tested our feelings, and now there's no doubt that we're meant to be together. We have our whole lives ahead of us. In the matter of marriage, rush is not necessary, so that then do not regret, and do not run a year later in the institution of marriage, only already divorced." At that time the door opened and Margaret came into the room. "Mommy, look at me. How do I look?" Nora walked around the room, letting those around her admire herself. The girls were doing their best. "It's wonderful. How beautiful you are." The woman brushed away an unsolicited tear. "I can't believe you're getting married. It seems like only yesterday you were a baby, and today you're already a bride. How quickly you've grown up. It's pathetic." "Mom." The daughter came over and hugged her mother tenderly. "I love you very much. How father was happy for you." The woman sneezed. "He has already been with us for 2 years, and still in my head does not fit that I will never see him again." "I'm sorry, dear. I've upset you. I shouldn't have brought him up on a day like this. You've got a wonderful event coming up. Let's stop talking about sad things and enjoy it. Come on, Mommy. I miss my father very much. He's always in my heart." Nora confessed, "I miss him too. I know how hard it is to lose someone you've lived with all your life. He was a wonderful husband and father. Today he would take me to the wedding reception. Yes, we have raised a beautiful daughter. It's a shame he can't see that." Margaret smiled through her tears. "I'm proud of you, daughter. I also dream of grandchildren. You and Edward have already thought about children, haven't you? I hope I don't have to wait another 2 years for them." "Oh, wait." She looked at her daughter questioningly. "Where is Edward? Why isn't he here? We have to leave now. Call him quickly. Where is he? I hope he'll meet us at the wedding venue." "Edward?" Nora was glad to hear her fiancé's voice on the phone. "Edward, can you hear me? Where are you?" The girl angrily interrupted the conversation. She couldn't hear anything. There was some noise in the receiver. It sounded like cars passing by. That's good. The mother was nervous, punctual by nature. She hated those who were late. So we're on the road, no reason to panic. I hope she doesn't get stuck in traffic. Oh, come on, Mommy. He just got a little out of sync. The bride stood up for the groom. You know his work takes up a lot of his time. Something urgent may have delayed him, but he'll make it. What work? It's not what he has to think about right now. You're having a wedding, too. Margaret sighed. They didn't want to have a traditional wedding. With a bride price and contests for the groom, it would have been fun, and the mood would have been festive. You know what kind of wedding my father and I had? The whole yard was celebrating. Something to remember in my old age, but what did you do? My dear Mommy, Nora hugged her mother. It's not fashionable now, you know. People are all busy. They don't want to waste time on old-fashioned rituals. What's the point of all this? What's all this fancy? Mother shook her head reproachfully. Just meet at the marriage ceremony. You are now together for life. It's such an event. Don't be angry, dear. We are not 18 years old. We're adults, modern people. Why do we need these contests, posters, shouting? You also advised me to put a doll on the hood. It's the 21st century. Suddenly, there was an audacious knock on the door. Here comes Edward. With a triumphant look at those present, the bride announced. No, no. Waving her arms, Margaret shouted. Don't you dare come out. It's bad luck to see a bride in her dress before the wedding. Listen to your mother, Nora. Don't go out to him? Mother, Nora laughed. What is this relic of the past? Harry? The smile slipped from her face. We're ready to leave now, but I can't get Edward on the phone. Have you talked to him lately? Do you know why he's late? He wouldn't pick up his cell phone, and now he's disconnected. Nora, with admiration, looking at the flushed girl, the man said, You are amazingly beautiful today. I'm sure you will outshine everyone at the wedding. My heart almost stopped when I saw you. You're dazzling in that dress. I envy Edward. Madam, he bowed jokingly, the carriage is ready. Please follow me. The man bent his arm at the elbow. Nora took him under her arm and followed him to the car. Don't worry about him. Don't overload your pretty head with non-existent problems. Maybe something happened to his phone. That's why he's not answering. I'm sure he's waiting for us at the wedding reception. You should be nervous. Edward can't be late for his own wedding. He's been looking forward to this day. I hope he has. I'm very nervous. Nora? Suddenly one of the girls shrieked. The bouquet! We almost forgot the bouquet. No. Terrified, Margaret shrieked as the young woman prepared to return to the apartment. Don't you dare come back. It's bad luck. Girls, someone take the bouquet. When you leave the apartment, be sure to look in the mirror. Mom, Nora sighed. What kind of prejudice is that? Together with Harry, she headed for the car. Nora, the girlfriends and Margaret followed. We're coming to get you. Don't panic. There's still time to register. Everything will be fine. You'll see in half an hour, this little misunderstanding will be resolved. Expectations were not justified. Among the gathered bridegrooms, the groom was not present. They were approached by friends who cheered the bride. Nora, you are unbelievably beautiful, and your outfit is so gorgeous. Are you upset about something? Where is Edward? Tears welled up in the bride's eyes. Why isn't he here yet? We thought he was coming with you. Don't be upset. She was being comforted from all sides. It's still 15 minutes before the ceremony starts. He'll definitely come, you'll see. He can't leave you just before the registration, can he? Edward is not capable of such meanness. Let's wait. in case something's wrong. He'll come and explain everything. Oh, I don't like this. Margaret was nervous. Call, where did he disappear to? We can't go after him, can we? It's embarrassing. The groom didn't show up at the wedding. He disconnected the phone. Nora said confusedly, listening to the perky female voice of the answering machine. I don't understand. What's going on? He couldn't have turned off the phone. Her friend reassured her. The battery is probably dead. You know it happens. Or did he change his mind about marrying me? There were tears buried in her wedding dress. Don't make this up, Nora. Edward couldn't do that to you. If he's not here, then something serious must have happened. What could have happened? How hard would it be to just call and tell him he was running late? How can he warn you if he's in trouble? God forbid. He'll be here any minute. But as time went on, Edward didn't show up. Finally, another happy couple came out from behind the door. Nora. The girl was surrounded by her friends. We should go. It's our turn. Where's Edward? What happened? When was the last time he called you? How could he? That doesn't sound like Edward. You two didn't have a fight the night before. He couldn't just not come to his own wedding, could he? It can't be. He's crazy about you. Leave her alone. Can you see that the girl is upset? Margaret hugged her crying daughter. We don't know what happened to Edward. We're at a loss. The phone is off. Can't anyone tell us what happened? Why didn't he come? Harry, we all turned to the man. You're friends with Edward, aren't you? Come on, what happened? Why was he so mean to Nora? Did he say anything to you? Think back. Harry? Humiliating, Nora looked at him. Tell me honestly, did he change his mind about getting married? Did he just run away from me? Scared? You confide all your secrets to each other. Surely you must be guessing where he is. Please tell me. I don't know what to think. If you're offended, I don't know why. We didn't have any problems last night. All we talked about was the wedding. Nora, I swear he didn't tell me about his plans. I called him a few times, too. His phone's disconnected. He didn't say anything about not coming to the wedding venue. There was no hint that he had changed his mind or was at all hesitant to marry you. We saw him yesterday afternoon, and he was content and happy, looking forward to the wedding. He said he loved you very much and wished he'd proposed sooner. I can't think why he's still not here. Yes, then where is he? Why isn't he standing here with me? Why do I have to blush in front of the guests? I didn't push him to get married. He asked me to marry him. And now it turns out he didn't need it at all. If he so easily didn't come, and the most offensive thing is that he did it without explanation. What a position he's put me in, and on my wedding day. I don't recognize Edward, or do I not know him well? Nora, calm down. Margaret stroked her daughter's shoulder. Things happen in life. A guy gets nervous, he backslides. Who doesn't? It shouldn't have happened to me, Mom, you know? We're not children to be afraid of responsibility. If you changed your mind, why don't you just tell me honestly? Why don't you just show up like that? That's mean. That's low. I don't deserve to be treated like this. Nora, Harry was frantically thinking of what to do, what to say to calm the offended bride. I'm sure Edward will be able to explain everything. We just have to wait for him. We'll all calm down and be patient. Tell me, the girl attacked Harry. What do we do now? How long do we wait? It's clear he's not coming. He left me at the doorstep of the marriage institution. How can I bear the shame? Now everyone's going to point fingers. You abandoned girl. I wonder what he's doing, while I'm standing here like a fool waiting for him. And tomorrow the whole firm will laugh at me when I show up at work. Pull yourself together, please. Let's be logical. He couldn't have left you. It's as clear as day. I think something happened to him. Shit, shit, shit. Edward was nervous. I'm so screwed. I'm so screwed. How could such a stupid situation happen to me? He stretched his hand up, hoping that a miracle would happen and the phone would catch the network so he could call Nora and explain. You'd have to get stuck in an elevator on the day of your own wedding. Can you imagine what's happening to Nora? But it's not my fault the elevator broke down and the repair crew is in no hurry to get me out of here. I wonder how much longer I'll have to stay here. He dialed the dispatcher's number. Girl, honey, do you realize that I have to get out of here as soon as possible? How long do I have to wait? Are you gonna do anything about it? Listen to me. A woman's voice on the other end of the line answered him indifferently. Stop calling. This is the 5th time in the last half hour you've dialed the control room. You're wasting the line. I told you very clearly, the master will come when he can. What's not to understand? Your situation is not so critical, and in the next house stuck mom with a baby in her arms, and her first priority we must save. Is that clear? Just wait. It's not my fault that elevators are always breaking down, and the master is one for several houses. Nothing will happen to you if you stay in the locked cabin a little longer. My situation is critical too, shouted Edward. My fiancé is waiting for me at the wedding reception. The guests, the table in the restaurant is booked, and I'm stuck here, though I should be putting a ring on my beloved's finger. Do you realize that by your grace, the family is ruined before it's even born? She's not gonna believe I'm stuck here by accident. Imagine yourself in her shoes, have some compassion. You've got to think of something like that. The dispatcher said angrily, It's his wedding. They could have come up with something more original. You don't believe me? The man was indignant. If my fiancé leaves me, it will be on your conscience. You have no heart. Stop occupying the line. I cannot jump above my head. As soon as the master is free, I will immediately send to you. But in the meantime, be patient. Wait, said the woman and hung up. That's great. Annoyed Edward banged his fist on the elevator wall. It's the worst thing in the world, waiting and catching up. I hope Nora will understand and forgive me for being stuck here. What if she thinks I'm a coward? He clutched his head with his hands. I'm so screwed, I'm so screwed. Guilt-free. Some more time passed, and suddenly the elevator came to life and moved. Well, recluse, come on out. The elevator doors opened, and in front of Edward was an elderly smiling master in special clothes, with a tool case in his hands. Sorry, brother, I couldn't get you out earlier. Edward stormed out of the booth, nearly knocking the man to the ground. What a freak! What's he doing running like that? The foreman shook his head disapprovingly. So what if he sat in the elevator for a while? The world didn't collapse. The unhappy groom dialed the number of the cab. To the wedding reception. He said as he got into the car, Are you late for the wedding? Looking in the rearview mirror at the young man, in a strict suit with a boutonniere on his jacket lapel, the driver asked, You're already late. Edward said bitterly, I'm afraid everyone's already gone. Listen, friend. He turned to the driver. Wait for me. All right, but don't take too long. The unmarried groom flew down the stairs in one fell swoop and burst into the wedding hall. Where is it? He asked and hesitated. What do you want? Tiredly asked the woman, collecting papers from the table. Everyone went away who wanted to be married, and you were looking for whom? A bride? Edward waved his hand hopelessly and went to the cab. On the way, dialing a friend's cell phone number. Harry, where are you? Edward, at last. Where have you been? I'll tell you later. Where's Nora? Well, we're at the restaurant, celebrating a wedding, so it's not a waste. Whose wedding? The man got in the car. Drive to the restaurant. He told the driver and gave the address. When the man entered the hall, the guests immediately quieted down in anticipation, looked at each other, whispered, discussing the appearance of the long-awaited groom. Nora? A friend touched the young woman's arm. Edward is here. Oh my God! Nora splashed her hands. Look who's here! Edward, you're just in time as always, and we've been waiting for you. Daughter, her mother warned her. Stop, don't make a scene. First find out why he was late. Let him explain. I hope he has something to say for himself. What's the matter, Mommy? Why do I need a scandal? Why spoil the party? Come in, Edward. You'll be a guest at our wedding. What are you talking about? The groom is worried. What do you mean, your wedding? What is it? I'm getting married. Congratulations, I got married just like I wanted. How could you get married if I wasn't here? That's exactly why. Nora came right up to Edward. I finally got married, with you as a bride. I'd have had to wait until I retired, and I was tired of waiting for you. Wait a minute. Nora squinted angrily. Let me see, how many times have we postponed our wedding? 3 times, because Edward wanted us to, and he always had a very convincing reason to say no, and now he's finally decided to make me happy. Everything seemed ready for the long-awaited event. The bride circled the hall. The guests are invited. The wedding is scheduled. The restaurant is booked, and suddenly interferes with His Majesty of Chance. The groom did not show up at his own wedding. Ay, what a nuisance. The bride is weeping. The guests are perplexed. What scandal? Wait. Edward tried to stop her, grabbed her by the arms, turned her around. I can explain everything. There was a funny situation. I got stuck in the elevator. Honestly, I can even bring a certificate from the dispatcher. It's a completely stupid story, like in the joke. And I don't want to hear it. Nora broke free of her ex-fiancé's grip. You think it's funny? Let's laugh together. We have a party, guests are here. Tables are booked. We can't waste the good. Friends, she addressed the crowd, who froze, not knowing what to do in such a situation. Let's help ourselves. Everything is paid for. Smile. Toastmaster, invite guests to the table. I want to drink. Why don't we postpone the wedding? Edward tried to stop Nora from going wild. I swear, this is definitely the last time. There's no need to reschedule. I got married. And conveniently, I didn't even have to change anything, just the groom's name. To whom? Edward stared at her, dumbfounded. To your best friend, Harry. So the wedding took place, Edward, but without you. As you can see, there are no irreplaceables. What are you talking about? How could you marry him if you were going to marry me? Are you talking out of spite to me now? I understand, and I'm not even offended. What right do you have to take offense at me? I didn't leave you, you left me. I didn't dump you, Nora. I love you. In despair, Edward didn't know what other words to use to convince his fiancée that it wasn't his fault. I've decided I've had enough, and I've married Harry. Darling? She took the man under her arm, pressed herself against him. Tell my ex-fiancé we married you? So this isn't a joke? Boiling Edward. You just marry the first guy you meet to spite me? Harry's not a first mate. He's been in love with me a long time, and he's always there for me, unlike you. Get lost. You're not welcome here. Honored guests, let's keep the party going. Harry, is she joking? Edward looked at his friend confusedly. He was silent. I don't believe it. You couldn't do this to me. I love you. It's the resentment in you right now. Yes, I postponed the wedding several times, but not because I doubted my feelings for you, but because I was afraid of losing my freedom. Edward, what's the matter? You're free. You're free from your obligations, from me, from having to get married. No one's going to restrict your rights if that's what you're so afraid of. I'm gonna have a man by my side who's not afraid of responsibility. He didn't have to think about whether or not to marry me. He didn't have to wait, check his feelings, talk about his lost freedom. He went ahead and married me. Harry? Edward turned pale and looked at his friend. I didn't expect you to be so mean. We've been friends since we were kids. I never thought you could do this to me. I was just supporting Nora. The man replied to his friend's attack. I couldn't do otherwise. Seeing her deceived, humiliated was beyond me. And then something happened that no one expected. Edward swung and drove his fist into Harry's face, causing him to fall, his nose bleeding. What have you done? Nora shrieked, rushing over to Harry. Somebody get me a tissue and call an ambulance. Don't call an ambulance, the man asked, sitting down on the floor. There's nothing wrong with me. I lost more than just my fiancé today. Edward looked contemptuously first at one, then at the other. But also your best friend. I wish you happiness. Edward, rubbing his bruised arm, turned around and walked out of the hall. He didn't remember how he had gotten to the street. He walked swaying, as if drunk, unable to make out the road. When he noticed a bench, he sat down, tore the boutonniere from the lapel of his jacket, threw it in the trash can, grabbed his head, and groaned. A man? He heard a voice beside him. You're not feeling well? Should I call an ambulance? You're not yourself. An ambulance won't help. He looked at the old woman who was staring anxiously at his face. It's all right. Don't worry. Did you have a fight with your wife? She asked sympathetically. Nothing to make up. Who doesn't? Edward looked sadly at the woman, but said nothing. She stood by him for a while and then walked away. The man got up, caught a cab, and in a few minutes was already entering the entrance of his house. Now you work like clockwork, he grinned, when the elevator doors opened obligingly in front of him. Because of you, my whole life has gone down the drain. I lost my fiancé and found out that my best childhood friend was a traitor who took advantage of the situation and married her. How am I supposed to move on with my life? He stepped out on his floor, opened the apartment door, stumbled through the suitcases in the floor of the dark hallway. We had to. He grinned bitterly and kicked the suitcases standing in the driveway. To go on a wedding trip with Nora. And now what? Nothing. Now I want to get drunk. Everything collapsed, crumbled like a house of cards. The man went into the living room, took a full bottle of whiskey, a glass, a snack, and sat down on the sofa. Well, Edward? He turned to himself, raising the whiskey glass. You're free again. Only I'm not bloody happy about it. He downed the glass, grimaced, and poured the next one. Why would I want that kind of freedom? I'm not just free, I'm alone. Why do I need all this? How could I have been so wrong about Nora? How could she even take and just replace one fiancé with another? How could I have been so blind? On the other hand, he took another sip of the hot drink. For too long, I was going to marry her. Then there's that elevator thing. I can't believe they'd do such a mean thing to me. But they did, didn't they? How am I supposed to go on? I don't understand. He closed his eyes, the empty glass fell out of his hand, and Edward fell into a heavy sleep. In the morning, Nora was awakened by the doorbell, disheveled, Her eyes reddened with tears and sleepless night, she grudgingly went out into the hallway and opened the door. "Hello." Harry was standing on the doorstep. "I'm sorry I'm so early. I couldn't help but come over." "Hi." Nora stepped aside to let him into the apartment. "How are you?" "I'm sorry. I asked a stupid question." He was embarrassed. "I'm hanging in there, as you can see, still alive. Any regrets about yesterday?" "I don't know." She wrapped herself in her robe. "I just wanted to check up on him." I was expecting him to make a scene, to yell, to be indignant, but he believed that I could cheat on him. You saw, he hardly ever swore. Do you understand? He had no doubt in his mind that it was true. And I was stupid, expecting him to meet me at my house and beg me to forget everything, to start again. Or at least call me, but nothing happened. He didn't come, he didn't call. I'd even felt like he didn't care, just walked away. It turns out he never cared about me. Married is good, not married is good. One less thing to worry about. The shame is not that he was late to the marriage ceremony, but that he believed in treason and did not even allow the thought that I deliberately invented everything. You're wrong. I'm sure Edward is very upset about what happened. You're his most precious possession. At least that's how it always seemed to me. I was wrong when I thought he loved me. I imagined that we'd be happy, that we'd be together forever, that we'd make a perfect couple. I pictured in my mind what a good father he'd be. I made plans for the future. God, she covered her face with her hands. How stupid and naive I was. I should have forgotten about him the first time he moved up the wedding date. He said it was temporary, that he was having some problems at work, and he didn't want them to mar our married life. But it was. I know what I'm talking about. Then he postponed the date again, explaining that he was offered an extra job and he wanted to earn more money for our wedding, and a part-time job would not be superfluous, and I believed again. The girl smiled unhappily. You should trust him. You shouldn't have. You should have run away from him then, so that you wouldn't be in such a stupid position now. It doesn't make any difference now, though. She fell powerless into silence, her hands on her knees. Her blue eyes were faded, and the life seemed to have gone out of them. She shook her mop of dark hair. Maybe it's a good thing it happened this way, and I can see now that he doesn't love me. But how am I supposed to live now? I don't know. He was the best thing for me. No one else? I never even thought about. It all happened so fast. Even in my wildest dreams, I couldn't imagine that we'd ever break up with him. It's a shame. Harry said with a sigh, that you love him and not me. I would never have betrayed you. I'd have broken myself to pieces, but I wouldn't have let a single tear fall from your beautiful eyes. You're a very good friend. I'm sorry. Nora looked guiltily at Harry for dragging you into all this. I said the first thing I could think of, just to spite him, but I didn't think he'd believe it. And then he came at you with his fists. She put her hand to the man's cheek, which had a bruise on it. Did it hurt? I'm so ashamed of Edward. So easily and simply doubting you and me, it hurts. I will never forgive him. Nora. Harry took her hands in his. I'm always here for you. If you need help, remember, just call me. I'd do anything for you. Anything you want, I'll do. You know how I feel about you, don't you? Harry, you're so good, but I love Edward and I can't help it. So what's next? If he doesn't call, are you just going to suffer? I'll go. She stood up resolutely. I'll talk to him quietly, explain everything. I think he's already realized that he made a mistake, but he's afraid to admit it. You know he's proud, and then I need to find out if he was really delayed by the elevator. That story sounds too far-fetched. What if it really happened? Then what if I was wrong to be mad at him? Let you down? No, thank you. Nora shook his hand, looking at him gratefully. I'll do it. Thank you so much for your support. It would have been very hard without you. I can imagine how you must be feeling about the fight with Edward. I'm ashamed to be the bone of contention between you two. When I explain it to him, I'm sure you'll reconcile and he'll understand. After seeing Harry off, the girl quickly cleaned herself up and went to her lover's house. She imagined that they would laugh about the accident, hug, Edward would kiss her, and everything would be like it was before. Nora firmly pressed the call button and was answered by silence. Strange, she said thoughtfully. It doesn't open. Where could he have gone? Maybe he went to the store. I'll try calling. She dialed the man's number. No answer? Why? Doesn't want to talk? The girl still stood under the doors and then returned home. There her mother was already waiting for her. Daughter, where have you been? I'm exhausted. Why don't you answer the phone? I turned off the sound. I don't want to talk to anyone. Sorry, even to you, I wanted to be alone. Nora went into the living room without undressing and sank down tiredly on the sofa. Mom, he's not home. He's not answering my calls. What am I going to do? I feel so bad. Did you go to Edward? My mother was surprised. Don't you have any pride left? I did. I wanted to tell him everything, but I kissed the closed door and came back with nothing. Well, what did you want? After news like that, any man's gonna lose his temper. It's all right. He'll pout and come back. I didn't think my innocent deception would go this far. I didn't even think he'd believe it. He should have realized that you can't change from one groom to another in a few minutes before registration. He must have been so angry with you that he lost his judgment. He was jealous of Harry, especially since he added fuel to the fire with his declaration of love for you. I didn't even realize he was secretly in love with you, always keeping a low profile with Edward. I don't know what to do. Nora was desperate. I love Edward. I don't need anyone but him, and he won't even try to talk to me after everything. How do I get him back? How do I make him listen? Mommy? She rushed to her mother, hugged her. I don't want to live without him. Oh, daughter, I'm not a good counselor. If he loves you, he'll come back. Or maybe it was just an excuse to finally let you realize that for him, bachelor life is better than marital duties. There's a kind of man who's not cut out for married life. I don't believe that. This isn't about Edward. Time will tell, but in the meantime, try to calm down. Look at what happened as a test of your feelings, and let him come to his senses. You need a break from each other, and then you'll get together and talk about it. Figure out who's right and who's wrong. How am I going to get to work? The girl cried. You'll have to see him every day. I don't know how. Should I quit? You'll get over it. God put up with it. Smart people will understand and sympathize, but fools talk, and forget. And then maybe things will get better for you. A week later, Nora returned to work. She slowly approached the office. Her heart was racing. As soon as she entered the office, the firm's chief gossip girl immediately flew in. You're a very good friend. I'm sorry. Nora looked guiltily at Harry. For dragging you into all this. I said the first thing I could think of, just to spite him. But I didn't think he'd believe it. And then he came at you with his fists. She put her hand to the man's cheek, which had a bruise on it. Did it hurt? I'm so ashamed of Edward. So easily and simply doubting you and me, it hurts. I will never forgive him. Nora, Harry took her hands in his. I'm always here for you. If you need help, remember, just call me. I'd do anything for you. Anything you want, I'll do. You know how I feel about you, don't you? Harry, you're so good, but I love Edward and I can't help it. So what's next? If he doesn't call, are you just going to suffer? I'll go. She stood up resolutely. I'll talk to him quietly, explain everything. I think he's already realized that he made a mistake, but he's afraid to admit it. You know he's proud. And then I need to find out if he was really delayed by the elevator. That story sounds too far-fetched. What if it really happened? Then what if I was wrong to be mad at him? Let you down? No, thank you. Nora shook his hand, looking at him gratefully. I'll do it. Thank you so much for your support. It would have been very hard without you. I can imagine how you must be feeling about the fight with Edward. I'm ashamed to be the bone of contention between you two. When I explain it to him, I'm sure you'll reconcile and he'll understand. After seeing Harry off, the girl quickly cleaned herself up and went to her lover's house. She imagined that they would laugh about the accident, hug, Edward would kiss her, and everything would be like it was before. Nora firmly pressed the call button and was answered by silence. Strange, she said thoughtfully. It doesn't open. Where could he have gone? Maybe he went to the store. I'll try calling. She dialed the man's number. No answer. Why? Doesn't want to talk? The girl still stood under the doors and then returned home. There her mother was already waiting for her. Daughter, where have you been? I'm exhausted. Why don't you answer the phone? I turned off the sound. I don't want to talk to anyone. Sorry, even to you. I wanted to be alone. Nora went into the living room without undressing and sank down tiredly on the sofa. Mom, he's not home. He's not answering my calls. What am I going to do? I feel so bad. Could you go to Edward? My mother was surprised. Don't you have any pride left? I did. I wanted to tell him everything, but I kissed the closed door and came back with nothing. Well, what did you want? After news like that, any man's gonna lose his temper. It's all right, he'll pout and come back. I didn't think my innocent deception would go this far. I didn't even think he'd believe it. He should have realized that you can't change from one groom to another in a few minutes before registration. He must have been so angry with you that he lost his judgment. He was jealous of Harry, especially since he added fuel to the fire with his declaration of love for you. I didn't even realize he was secretly in love with you, always keeping a low profile with Edward. I don't know what to do. Nora was desperate. I love Edward. I don't need anyone but him, and he won't even try to talk to me after everything. How do I get him back? How do I make him listen? Mommy? She rushed to her mother, hugged her. I don't want to live without him. Oh, daughter, I'm not a good counselor. If he loves you, he'll come back. Or maybe it was just an excuse to finally let you realize that for him, bachelor life is better than marital duties. There's a kind of man who's not cut out for married life. I don't believe that. This isn't about Edward. Time will tell, but in the meantime, try to calm down. Look at what happened as a test of your feelings, and let him come to his senses. You need a break from each other, and then you'll get together and talk about it. Figure out who's right and who's wrong. How am I going to get to work? The girl cried. You'll have to see him every day. I don't know how. Should I quit? You'll get over it. God put up with it. Smart people will understand and sympathize, but fools talk, and forget. And then maybe things will get better for you. A week later, Nora returned to work. She slowly approached the office. Her heart was racing. As soon as she entered the office, the firm's chief gossip girl immediately flew in. Nora. Wendy looked at her curiously. When I found out that your fiancé left you, right before the marriage ceremony, I almost went crazy. How could he do that to you?" She looked at the girl with sympathy. "Poor girl. I probably would have died of grief. But I didn't want to die sorry. I was just speaking figuratively, no offense. I can imagine how you must be feeling right now. What happened? Why did he do that to you? We've had the whole office buzzing for a week, and we were supposed to celebrate your wedding today. How pathetic is that? Tell me, why didn't the wedding happen? I'm dying of curiosity. Did you find out he's seeing someone else?" "Yes, Edward and I didn't get married, but don't sensationalize the news." "Why not?" "Why didn't we?" "Because he was late for the wedding." "What do you mean he was late?" The woman was stunned. "Does that happen?" "As you can see, it does. He was late through no fault of his own. He was on his way to the wedding venue, but he got stuck in the elevator." "Really? What a number!" Wendy listened avidly to the story of Nora and Edward's breakup, her eyes almost bulging with surprise. "So what now? Have you set a new wedding date yet?" "When?" "No, we've decided to break up." "What do you mean, break up?" "You two are such a beautiful couple, and you've been together for months. This situation has made us rethink a lot of things. We decided it was best for both of us." "Oh, that's a shame. But you two are so right for each other. I'm so sorry. I really sympathize. Breaking up over some stupid incident. Can't you make up?" "I'm sorry. It's been a busy week." Nora began to study the papers, trying to get rid of the annoying interlocutor. When she had everything she wanted, Wendy ran back to her room. Nora knew that now she would tell her colleagues in detail about the failed wedding, not forgetting to make up something. But she did not care. She caught sympathetic glances, and as soon as she walked into the office, the conversations died down. For a whole week, the entire office plankton had been discussing Nora's personal life. "Why don't you ask?" Asked a few days later, one of her coworkers, "Where's Edward? Don't you care where he's gone? Or didn't you even notice his absence? I'm not interested in knowing." Nora frowned, though she'd been curious about it for a long time. "We were going on vacation, probably still at sea. I'm the one who came back to work early." "No, he immediately after your spat wrote an application for transfer to another branch of our firm, and he was transferred. He didn't want to see you to avoid upsetting you more after what he'd done. So you really did not know anything." The woman pretended to be surprised. "I was sure everyone knew." "I didn't, and I don't care at all where he is now." Coldly, Nora replied, "I hope he doesn't come back here again. He left, didn't even say anything, and I was hoping I'd see him and explain everything." "Why did he do that to me?" "God, I'm such an idiot. Why did I just blurt out that I married Harry? Why didn't I listen to him? I attacked him at once, insulted him by mistrusting him. And he's good." She justified herself to herself. "He dropped everything and cut me out of his life." Nora? One morning, Wendy met her in the hallway of the firm and gave her a sly wink. "There were flowers for you, so I put them on your desk. Such an attentive man, and what a gorgeous bouquet." "Flowers?" The woman rejoiced, her heart snapped with happiness. "It's Edward. He changed his mind and came back." As if on wings, she ran to the office, grabbed the bouquet, pressed it to her chest, buried her nose in the flowers, savoring the fragrance. Then she opened the card and almost cried. "Dear Nora," she read, "I can't bear to see you suffer. I invite you to dinner at the restaurant tonight. Harry, did you like my present?" She heard behind her and flinched in surprise. "Yes, thank you." Wiping away tears, Nora answered, turning to the man. She smiled, though she wanted to weep at the top of her voice. The flowers are beautiful. It's my pleasure, but it wasn't worth the expense. Do you accept my invitation? The man asked insistently, not listening to any objections. Harry, the woman hesitated. I'm not in the mood for restaurants, you must understand. I don't feel like going out at all, and after work I have to go home right away. All urgent matters can be postponed for later. I don't take no for an answer, the man said decisively. Edward's gone. You can't stay locked up for the rest of your life. You need to relax a little, take your mind off things. You've had enough of being cooped up like a nun. Let's go out, it's no obligation, just a friendly dinner. I won't ask for anything in return. Can I afford to take a beautiful woman to a restaurant? I guess you're right. After some thought, she agreed. Let's go out because I'm going to go crazy with worry. That's great. Harry was happy. Then I'll meet you in the parking lot right after work. I'm glad you said yes. I wanted to do something nice for you. He took her to the most expensive restaurant in town. I've never been here before. Robia, Nora remarked, looking around at the fancy furnishings. Nora. Harry spoke softly, helping her to a seat at the table. His eyes glittered feverishly. His eyes were filled with desire. I'd do anything for you, and the restaurant is just a little thing, just a good time. Thank you. I appreciate your concern, but I shouldn't have spent so much. She was uncomfortable with the man's insistent stare. Everything here is too expensive. I don't feel comfortable. It's nothing. I should have told you a long time ago, but I didn't dare for fear of hurting you. What do you mean? Nora looked at him in bewilderment. But I can't keep quiet anymore either. It's pathetic to watch you suffer because you've broken up with Edward and he's not worth your little finger. Haven't you forgotten how he treated you? I'll never forgive him for that. How can you say that? Edward is your friend. After all, we're all entitled to make mistakes. I'm wrong too. Yes, he's my friend, but I care about you too. So it's my duty to tell you the truth. I can't keep silent any longer, knowing that you've been deceived all this time. I feel like an accomplice because I didn't say anything to you, because I didn't say anything. I don't know what you mean. Nora got a chill inside. I'm afraid you won't like what I'm about to say. Harry paused for a moment, then continued. Edward has another woman, and she's expecting a child with him. He's been hesitant to tell you, so he's been holding off on the wedding. The elevator was just an excuse to finally break up with you for good. You know he left right away, right? He left with that woman. But they're probably already married because the baby's due soon. Edward, cheating though he was, couldn't leave the baby without a last name. That's why he disappeared so quickly. No, with tears in her eyes, Nora whispered. He couldn't do this to me. I don't believe you. I would have known, felt that he had another. Are you saying this so I won't be so hurt by his betrayal? But you're making it worse. Shut up. I don't want to hear any more about it. I understand. Harry said softly, taking her hands in his. You love him, but he has neglected your love for another woman. And that's the truth he kept from you and demanded my silence. He didn't have the courage to confess his adultery. He ran away like a coward, unable to appreciate your feelings. He's not worthy of your love. I realize you're confused and depressed, thinking you're alone, but you're not. There is a man next to you who is ready to support you, to protect you, to warm you with his warmth. Look at me, Edward's gone and I'm here. What do you want from me? Tears were streaming from Nora's eyes. She hardly knew what was happening. There was only one thought running through her mind. He has another. He's had another woman all this time. Why did I ignore the obvious? Was I afraid to find out the truth? No, it can't be. Edward is incapable of lying. I feel in my heart that it's a deception, a trap. And if it were true, she was tormented by the worm of doubt in her heart. Nora, Harry caught her eye. You know how I feel about you, don't you? If you agree to give me a chance to be there for you, to support you, to comfort you, I will prove that my love is stronger. I'll do anything to make you forget to even think about him. But I don't love you, frankly confessed the young woman. And I don't think I'll ever love you the way I love Edward. Why do you need me? It doesn't matter. Harry hurried on, noticing the change in her eyes. First surprise, then doubt. I assure you that my love is enough for the two of us, and in time you will love me too. Just don't refuse now. Think about it. I'm in no hurry. Promise to think about it. I don't need much, just to know that I have at least a modicum of hope that I'll feel the same way. And Nora suddenly realized that she needed a man's firm shoulder right now. Harry was so sincere that she believed him. Yes, I promise to think about it. She answered the persistent beau. Thank you. He sighed in relief and started kissing her hands. You don't know how happy I am to hear you say that. I've always been jealous of Edward. Even in my mind, I was afraid to think of you in any other way than as my best friend's fiancé. And now I am free to look at you with tenderness, with love, and no one can stop me from doing so. You are my goddess. I am ready to pray to you. Nora blushed at such words. Harry, you're rushing things. Yes, I am. Because I've lost a lot of time envying other people's happiness, but now I won't miss the opportunity to make you mine. Harry wooed her beautifully. Nora had heard the office gossip about her and Harry's relationship more than once. Look at her. No sooner had the trail of one suitor gone cold than another appeared. She's not the least bit embarrassed to accept his advances. Some people are lucky. You don't know how to get one, but she has 2 suitors at once. What do they see in her? No skin, no face. Don't tell me she's beautiful, stylish. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Maybe she knows some kind of spell for men. Let's ask her. Happy. Harry puts flowers on her table every morning, takes her to restaurants. But I don't think she's very happy about it. She's still pining for Edward. No, Harry's as good a groom as Edward. Nora was uncomfortable with such talk, but she tried to ignore it. There was indeed a bouquet of flowers waiting for her every morning. Why, Harry, why? It's such a waste of money. Don't. It makes me uncomfortable in front of my coworkers. I like it. It's fun, he told her. To please the woman I love, and I don't care about the people around me. You're giving food to the gossip mongers. So what? Let them envy you, but tonight we're going to the theater. He put the tickets in front of her. Harry. Nora shook her hands. It's been 100 years since I've been to the theater. Thank you. I knew you'd like it. The best reward for me is seeing the smile on your face. I'm happy I can take your mind off your sad thoughts for a while. I'm very grateful to you. Nora was embarrassed when, at times like this, Harry tried to hug her and kiss her. She wanted to be more affectionate with him, but something kept stopping her, and in the evenings, alone, she cried into her pillow and remembered Edward's kisses, which gave her goosebumps, as if she were in his arms. Harry had been paying attention not only to Nora, but to her mother as well. What a man! She admired Harry when he once again presented her with a small gift and flowers. Attentive, caring, and he loves you, you can tell. What more do you want? What do you want? That's the kind of man every woman dreams of. Is one better than the other? What do you see in Edward? Where is he now? No one knows. Never heard from, never seen. vanished, vanished, as if he never existed, and Harry's always there. If he proposes, don't you dare refuse. There's no such thing as a man on the prowl. Mama, I don't love him. How can you marry without love? You'd be fooling him and yourself, and then you'd suffer all your life. So what is she going to suffer? There's your love. How did it turn out? Tears and sleepless nights. Have you seen yourself in the mirror? Only eyes left on your face, and they'll soon be tears. The main thing is that the man loved, and you respected him, and then you will not notice how you fall in love. Such a man is easy to love. It was 6 months before Edward disappeared. One day Harry, waiting for her after work, said, "I've asked our director for a few days' vacation without your consent." "Why?" Without looking at the man, Nora asked. "I'm not going anywhere. I bought a vacation home. A change of scenery won't hurt you. I can't look at you without crying." And then he smiled enigmatically. "I have a surprise. Shall we go? The hotel's booked. They're waiting for us. By the way, your mom approved the trip." "Okay, let's go." With a sigh, the woman agreed. "Just promise me if I don't like it, we'll come back right away?" "Deal." Cheerfully, the man replied. "But I'm sure you will still be begging me to stay there." Vacation in Sosnovy Bor, on the shore of a picturesque lake, did its job. Nora was revitalized, smiling more often. "How grateful I am to you for bringing me here." The woman confessed once, admiring the sunset. The dark surface of the lake had a calming effect on her. "I knew you'd like it. It's nice and quiet here. No one is whispering behind your back, discussing your personal life. It's a shame we can't stay here forever, but we can always come back." The last night they sat at the restaurant for dinner. "Nora, do you know how I feel about you? I've waited a long time for this moment, and now I've made up my mind." He took a velvet box out of his jacket pocket, opened it, and said solemnly, "Marry me. I promise you will never regret that you said yes to me. I love you very much, and I hope one day you'll say those words to me too. Why aren't you saying anything? Do you agree?" "Yes," Nora answered decisively. "I agree to marry you." Harry rejoiced. He put a small diamond ring on her finger. "My beloved." Holding her hands in his and looking at her admiringly, said the satisfied groom, "We have many beautiful days ahead of us without cloudy family happiness. You don't realize what a gift you have given me by accepting my proposal." Nora didn't feel particularly happy about the upcoming wedding. "I'll try to love him in time," she consoled herself. Mama was right. It's a win-win situation. Who else would I wait for? And Harry, here he is, kind, gentle, tender, affectionate. What about Edward? It's a pain in my heart. He's with someone else. I must forget him, erase him from my memory. Nora and Harry had been married for almost a year. He was madly in love with her, trying to win the young woman's affection. He gave her gifts, took her on weekend trips, bought her a car. Alas, Nora did not reciprocate. "I don't see any joy on your face." Her mother was so impressed with her. "Harry would go to pieces to get any sign of attention from you, and you can't get enough. What do you want? Why do you torture him?" "Mom, I don't know why I married him. I don't feel anything for him. It's been a year, and we're like strangers. I think we made an irreparable mistake getting married. He played on my loneliness after I broke up with Edward. I didn't realize what I was doing, and I don't know how to fix it now." "What? Are you crazy? Is this how you respond to his concern? Is it hard for you to be nicer to him? He's a good man, and he deserves your attention. He wants kids. So give him a child. Then the stupid thoughts will go out of your head. You're the one who's doing nothing. When you have a baby, you won't have time to think about silly things. Children bring us closer together. How can I have a child with a man I don't love? Do you want him to be miserable like his parents? No, I'd rather be alone. What are you making up? The mother was indignant. You're ungrateful. I don't know how Harry still puts up with you. If I were him, I'd have dropped everything and run away. Mother, how can you talk to me like that? I was hoping you'd be supportive. You're my daughter, but I can't bear to see you both suffer. And it's all your fault. Do you know how many families live without passion for each other? And they have babies. Did you and Dad ever really love each other? We're different. Mother was embarrassed. So do I, Mommy. I want to wake up and fall asleep in the arms of a desirable man and not shudder at his every touch. I think I'm gonna go. She immediately got ready and went outside. It was a beautiful spring day. Nora wandered aimlessly through the city, remembering the unpleasant conversation with her mother. Nora? Suddenly she heard a familiar voice and shuddered in surprise. Hello. Edward? Hello. I didn't expect to see you here. I heard you'd gone away. I did, but now I'm back, and I'm very glad to see you. He looked at her carefully, his eyes shining with happiness. How are you living? I'm fine, and you? Can I congratulate you? On what? Perplexed stared at her former fiancé. What did you have, a boy or a girl? What are you talking about? I don't understand you. Harry said you were supposed to have a baby. Edward stared at her, frozen with amazement, and he gradually began to understand her words. I don't know why he thought I was supposed to have a baby, but I think we should talk to you. Don't you think? Yes, you're probably right. The young woman agreed. I'd like to get some answers to some questions. There is a great cafe nearby. I suggest we go there and have a cup of coffee to our chance meeting. In silence, they reached the cafe and ordered. You've lost weight, Pale. Edward noticed. Tell me, how did you know I had a child? When you disappeared without telling me, Harry said you'd gone off with the mother of your child, that all this wedding stuff was just an excuse to get rid of me. What are you talking about? Edward was indignant. I was madly in love with you. Yes, I was afraid of losing my freedom, but that's the fear of a bachelor. I couldn't imagine life without you. How could you even think that about me? Why would I deceive you? I never had any other woman. I only wanted you. And yet, you immediately believed that I changed my fiancé at the marriage ceremony. So you didn't trust me. Jealousy blinded me. I realized later that I was wrong. I realized I had wronged you undeservedly, but I couldn't get over my pride. I was hurt when you refused to believe the elevator story. So we both overreacted? That's what it turns out. I was really sorry I left so soon. I wanted to come back, but I found out you were married. I never would have married if I hadn't known you had another woman. Harry assured me you'd been with her a long time, and then told me you were having a baby. This news completely threw me off balance. I had no reason not to believe him. I was confused, I was all alone, and the resentment I felt for you all blurred. So what do you mean, Harry lied to me? Of course he did. Why would I want some mythical woman? I didn't want to live without you. I was just angry that you chose my friend over me. Anger and jealousy are bad counselors. I chose to run away instead. I realized it too late. I should have trusted you. And you. But Harry assured me so convincingly that you had another woman a long time ago. Why would I want another woman? Edward asked quietly, taking Nora's hands in his. I still love you. She felt goosebumps run up and down her body at the man's touch. She'd never felt anything like it when Harry touched her. We've wasted so much time speculating about each other and haven't taken the time to sit down and talk. Say, begging, looking at her, Edward asked, "Can you ever forgive me? This year has been like a dream. I've been very unhappy without you. Don't you have any love left in your heart for me? I thought I had fallen out of love with you because you cheated, but now I realize I still can't live without you. Everything between Harry and me was a terrible mistake." "Darling," exclaimed the joyful Edward. The cafe patrons looked at him perplexedly. "You can't imagine how much I've missed you. I don't want to let you go. I want to kiss you, caress you. Why don't we run away from here? Get a hotel room. Let's do it." "Goodbye," laughed Nora. "I missed you too. It's a shame we lost a whole year because of stupid grudges, but we can make up for it." Edward looked tenderly at the young woman and could not get enough of her. He caressed every feature of her face with his gaze. "Waiter!" Keeping his eyes on his beloved, he called out to the young man, "Bring the bill." They left the cafe, holding hands, got into a cab, and went to the nearest hotel. There they took a room, turned off their cell phones, and began to enjoy each other's intimacy. Margaret. Entering his mother-in-law's apartment, Harry asked her from the doorstep, "Do you know where Nora is? I can't get through to her. She's turned her cell phone off for some reason. She should have been back by now. I hope nothing's happened. When was the last time you spoke to her? We had a fight. The woman admitted it. And she left. I don't know where she went. I'm going to try calling her myself. It's really disconnected." Margaret looked at the phone receiver in confusion. Maybe the battery's dead, and she's at her girlfriend's. "Did you call them and find out?" "I called all her friends," the man said worriedly. "No one's seen her. I don't know where she could have gone. As long as she's okay, it's not a big deal." Trying to reassure my son-in-law, Margaret. "Maybe she's already home, went for a walk and got held up. You go ahead. If I see her, I'll call you. You can rest assured." "Yes, I think I'll go. Maybe she really is back already. It's still weird that you didn't tell anyone. Just let me know so I don't worry if she comes home." The woman asked. "Okay, I'll keep you posted." Harry returned to the empty house. Nora was gone. He was out of his mind with worry. He was about to run to the police station when the key turned in the lock and Nora appeared on the doorstep. "Where have you been?" Her husband exclaimed indignantly, looking at her indignantly. "I've been looking all over for you. Margaret is worried. I'm not going to report to you." Nora replied calmly, "I'm a free woman. Do I have the right to be alone? You're a married woman, and I'm your husband. I need to know where you've been. You won't be a husband for long." The young woman remarked, "I'm filing for divorce, and this issue is out of the question. Do not try to dissuade. I've already tolerated a whole year, but now I've finally made up my mind. We can't be together." "What?" The man screamed. "Explain to me what happened in the few hours you were away from home." "What fly bit you?" "Are you drunk?" "I met Edward." Nora answered. "He told me everything. It turns out you've been lying to me all this time. He's never had a woman, and he's never been a happy father. Why did you make all that up?" "I don't understand." "You don't?" Harry clenched his fingers into fists, so white his knuckles turned white, his eyes bloodshot. "And I'll tell you, it's all because of you. Edward has always had the best in life: a job, a car, an apartment, a woman. Everything was easy, and I had to make my way through life the hard way. He's the lucky one, and I'm the loser. But now I have the most desirable woman in the world, and no one can stop me. It was worth it. You're my wife. He gave you up, and I'm not going to share you with anyone." "You're crazy," Nora said in horror. Her heart clenched with fear. She was afraid he was going to hit her. "Yes," Harry's eyes burned with feverish fire. "I've gone mad with love for you." "Is that a crime?" "I won't give you to anyone, do you hear? You will stay with me. I won't let anyone else have you. No one will love you as I do. Edward is not capable of that kind of love. You're mine, do you understand? Mine and no one else's. I will destroy anyone who gets in my way. Harry, I don't love you and I never will. I've always been honest with you. Why torture each other? But I love you. That's enough for me. Let me go, please." Nora begged. "We're both suffering." "No way. I won't give you a divorce. You'll stay here with me. And if anyone dares to take you away from me, I will stop at nothing." Nora was scared, not for herself, for Edward. "All right. Calm down, please." The woman realized it was best to backtrack now. "I'm not going anywhere." "Good for you." Satisfied, Harry slowly began to calm down. "Why do you want that traitor? You think he's changed. You'll thank me for saving you from him. Have you forgotten how much you suffered? How I pulled you out of your depression? No, I won't let him anywhere near you." That evening, after waiting for Harry to fall asleep, she locked herself in the bathroom, turned on the water, and called Edward. If you could have seen it, she told him. "What did he look like when he found out you were back?" "I've never seen him like that." "Do you want me to talk to him myself?" the man asked. "I'm begging you. Let's just leave it as it is for now, shall we?" she asked. "I'll try to talk to him again, only a little later. He must realize that it's impossible to live with someone you don't love. You could just leave with me." Edward suggested it. "Leave him, let him live his life as he likes. After all, you can get a divorce through the courts. No, I don't want to do that. I've got to get him to sign the petition." Time passed, and Harry never let his wife out of his sight, supervising her at home, at work, accompanying her everywhere. Nora couldn't find the right occasion to talk. "Why are you so pale?" One day Harry asked, concerned about his wife's condition. "I've been sick this morning," she confessed. "Are you ill?" "No, it's something else. I'm pregnant." "You're pregnant." Nora saw her husband's face change. "With what?" "Tell me, bitch." He grabbed her shoulders painfully, pushing her against the wall. "Don't touch me," the woman said warningly. "You yourself always wanted children." "Oh, I see." It suddenly dawned on Harry. "You slept with him." "Cheated on me? How could you get mixed up with that traitor again? After everything I've done for you? What were you hoping for? Did you think I wouldn't find out? Let it be known that I can't have children. I had the mumps when I was a kid. I loved you, but you deceived me, trampled on my feelings, let that scoundrel crush me." "You and Great." He swung at her. Nora squirmed, expecting him to hit her, but instead he slammed the room door with all his might. Shards of broken glass spattered pitifully. "Yes, I cheated on you, and I wasn't going to hide it." Nora looked directly at her husband. "I'm asking you to give me a divorce. Let's part amicably. Let me go. How could I have been so wrong about you?" Harry looked at her with regret. "I thought I was the best of women, and you're just like everyone else. It's all Edward's fault. He has to go away. Yes, when he's gone, will you stop thinking about him and love me?" "No." Nora shrieked in horror and tried to hold Harry. "You wouldn't dare hurt him." "Stop it, Harry. You're making a terrible mistake. I'll never love you anyway. I was grateful for this year until I found out you told me the truth. How are you better than Edward? Don't you dare compare me to him." Harry roared. "He abandoned you, and I tried to save you." But it wasn't his fault, and you know it as well as I do. Oh, so you're protecting him? You're afraid for his worthless life? He'll pay for everything. I won't let him destroy everything I've built. I had a family, a wife I loved, and then this handsome man shows up again. I'm left with a broken home again. But no, I won't let you. I know what I have to do. Nora grabbed his arm, and he pushed her away from him. Furious, Harry grabbed his jacket and ran out of the apartment, slamming the door loudly. Nora grabbed the phone. Edward, Edward. She kept crying. Pick up the phone. Please, my love. I wouldn't survive if anything happened to you. But the man didn't answer. What should I do? I have to warn him somehow. Harry's capable of anything in his condition. What am I supposed to do? I have to go to him. Right. What am I doing sitting here? Cab. Yeah, we should call a cab, she said as she dialed the number of the cab service. Hello, young lady, would you have a car, please? The woman gave the address. In a few minutes, she was already sitting in the car, continuing to dial her lover's number from time to time. Her anxiety was growing. Not remembering herself, she went up to Edward's apartment. Oh my God, she said when she saw that the door to the apartment was ajar. Am I too late? Her insides were shaking, and on unbendable legs, she strode into the living room and cried out desperately, Edward, my love. The man was lying on the floor in a pool of blood. She fell to her knees in front of him, fumbling for a pulse, frantically dialing the ambulance number. Ambulance? Crying, Nora shouted into the phone. A man is dying here. Help me, quick. Edward, are you alive, my dearly beloved? The woman stroked his hair, leaned over and kissed him. Say something, I beg you. Call me back. Don't die. Don't leave me. The man was silent. His face was dead pale. The doctors arrived about 10 minutes later, quickly assessed the situation. Who are you to the victim? The doctor asked sternly, and how did you get into the apartment? I'm his fiancée. The apartment was open, so I went in. The victim's head is smashed and he's unconscious. I'll have to call the police. Yes, do what you have to do. You'll have to wait for the police to arrive and tell them what happened. But I didn't see anything. I came in and Edward was already on the floor. You'll still have to explain yourself to the police. We can't stay here. Your friend needs to be in intensive care right away. But I wanted to come with you. Your fiancé is still unconscious. You're more important. Come back later when he comes to his senses. The doctor gave me the address of the hospital. Nora was afraid to be alone in the apartment, afraid that Harry might come back. The young woman flinched when the doorbell rang. Open up, police. She heard it and opened the door. The police inspected the apartment. They found no signs of forced entry, nor did they find the crime weapon. Who could have done it? The investigator asked her directly. Do you have any idea? I think my husband did it, Harry. Didn't you say the victim was your fiancé? My husband and I were getting a divorce. It's a very complicated story. Well, interesting. The coroner sat down in a chair in the living room, put his foot on his leg. Tell me your story, young lady, in detail. Nora told everything, starting with her and Edward's wedding. So you think your husband might have hit Edward? I'm afraid he did. Wiping away her tears, Nora said. We'd had a fight, and I asked him to give me a divorce. He became furious, threatened, and then ran here. I didn't have time to warn Edward. And where is Harry now? You don't know. Did you call him? No, I never saw him again. Do you have a key to this apartment? No. The door was open when I got here. The landlord must have let him in. if the door was intact. Of course, Edward didn't feel threatened because they were best friends. "Okay, we'll figure it out, but you guys be careful. Your husband seems to have some mental issues. Have you noticed any signs of aggression before?" "No, just today. Usually he's always calm and composed. I don't know what's gotten into him. He took the news of the divorce very painfully, but I didn't expect such a reaction from him. I think that kind of aggression, sooner or later, would have manifested itself towards you or someone else. It happens that a person behaves like a perfectly healthy person, but one day a trigger goes off and he can no longer control himself. Apparently, that trigger was the news of the divorce, so you'd better find somewhere to stay until we find Harry. I'm afraid you might be in danger too." "No." The woman said, "He won't touch me. He loves me too much. I wouldn't be so sure." The man shook his head doubtfully. The investigator left. Nora closed the apartment and drove to the hospital. "You can't see him." A nurse tried to stop her. "He's in intensive care. They won't let anyone in." "Leave your number. We'll let you know when the patient comes to." "Please, I'm begging you. Will you let me stay with him?" "I'll be quiet. I won't interfere. I want him to see me first when he opens his eyes. I can nurse him." "All right." The girl's given up. "Just put on a robe. Make sure you wear a mask, cap, and booties. This is an intensive care unit, and be quiet, or I'll get a beating from the doctor. If he shows up, disappear as soon as I tell you." "Okay. Okay, thank you. I'd do anything to stay close to the one I love." Nora sat in the room next to Edward and cried. "It's all my fault," she thought. "Why? Why did I agree to marry Harry? I didn't love him. I knew I didn't love him. I knew I'd never love him. I let myself be deceived. Fool. All I want is Edward. My darling," she whispered, kissing his hand. "Just wake up, please. I love you so much. We're going to live happily ever after, and we'll never part again. I won't let you go anywhere, and I'll trust only you. My darling, my only one." Nora spent the whole night by Edward's side. In the morning she fell into a restless sleep, dozing in her chair and holding Edward's hand tightly. She woke up every now and then during the night to see if he was awake. Tired, she laid her head in her arms on the edge of the bed and fell into sleep. When she woke up to someone stroking her hair, the woman lifted her head, shook it, shaking off the remnants of sleep, and straightened up. Edward was looking at her, smiling. "Are you awake?" She breathed out, tears of joy showing in her eyes. "How are you feeling?" "Not bad, just a headache and thirsty. I'll get the doctor right away." Nora jumped up, ran out into the corridor. "Nurse, tell the doctor Edward's awake." "Wait a minute, I'll give you something to drink." She quickly poured a glass of water and handed it to him. "How frightened I was when I found you on the floor in a pool of blood. How did I end up here?" "I don't remember much." He tried to get up. "Lie down, you can't move." The woman stopped him. "The doctor will be here in a minute. You'll have to get out of here." A nurse entered the room, looked at the patient. "Go home, you need to rest. The doctor will examine him, prescribe treatment, and come back in the evening. I think he'll be able to talk to you by then. Don't miss him." Nora leaned over Edward, kissed him. "I'll be right back. I promise not to be long." The woman walked out of the hospital and wondered, "Where will I go? If Harry is still in custody, it's not safe to go home. To my mother's, but that would mean putting her in danger too. Harry could meet me at her house. Go to Edward's? I don't think Harry will be looking for me there. I've got the keys with me. That's right. It's probably the safest place." As the young woman pondered, the phone rang. Nora, hello. It's the investigator. The man gave his last name. We have your husband in custody. You have nothing to fear. We have him in custody, and he's already confessing. Could you come to the investigative committee? You'll thank me for saving you from him. Have you forgotten how much you suffered? How I pulled you out of your depression? No, I won't let him anywhere near you. That evening, after waiting for Harry to fall asleep, she locked herself in the bathroom, turned on the water, and called Edward. If you could have seen it, she told him. What did he look like when he found out you were back? I've never seen him like that. Do you want me to talk to him myself? The man asked. I'm begging you. Let's just leave it as it is for now, shall we? She asked. I'll try to talk to him again, only a little later. He must realize that it's impossible to live with someone you don't love. You could just leave with me. Edward suggested it. Leave him, let him live his life as he likes. After all, you can get a divorce through the courts. No, I don't want to do that. I've got to get him to sign the petition. Time passed, and Harry never let his wife out of his sight, supervising her at home, at work, accompanying her everywhere. Nora couldn't find the right occasion to talk. Why are you so pale? One day Harry asked, concerned about his wife's condition. I've been sick this morning, she confessed. Are you ill? No, it's something else. I'm pregnant. You're pregnant. Nora saw her husband's face change. With what? Tell me, bitch. He grabbed her shoulders painfully, pushing her against the wall. Don't touch me, the woman said warningly. You yourself always wanted children. Oh, I see. It suddenly dawned on Harry. You slept with him. Cheated on me? How could you get mixed up with that traitor again? After everything I've done for you? What were you hoping for? Did you think I wouldn't find out? Let it be known that I can't have children. I had the mumps when I was a kid. I loved you, but you deceived me, trampled on my feelings, let that scoundrel crush me. You and Great. He swung at her. Nora squirmed, expecting him to hit her, but instead, he slammed the room door with all his might. Shards of broken glass spattered pitifully. Yes, I cheated on you, and I wasn't going to hide it. Nora looked directly at her husband. I'm asking you to give me a divorce. Let's part amicably. Let me go. How could I have been so wrong about you? Harry looked at her with regret. I thought I was the best of women, and you're just like everyone else. It's all Edward's fault. He has to go away. Yes, when he's gone, will you stop thinking about him and love me? No. Nora shrieked in horror and tried to hold Harry. You wouldn't dare hurt him. Stop it, Harry. You're making a terrible mistake. I'll never love you anyway. I was grateful for this year until I found out you told me the truth. How are you better than Edward? Don't you dare compare me to him. Harry roared. He abandoned you, and I tried to save you. But it wasn't his fault, and you know it as well as I do. Oh, so you're protecting him? You're afraid for his worthless life? He'll pay for everything. I won't let him destroy everything I've built. I had a family, a wife I loved, and then this handsome man shows up again. I'm left with a broken home again. But no, I won't let you. I know what I have to do. Nora grabbed his arm, and he pushed her away from him. Furious, Harry grabbed his jacket and ran out of the apartment, slamming the door loudly. Nora grabbed the phone. Edward, Edward. She kept crying. Pick up the phone. Please, my love. I wouldn't survive if anything happened to you. But the man didn't answer. What should I do? I have to warn him somehow. Harry's capable of anything in his condition. What am I supposed to do? I have to go to him. Right. What am I doing sitting here? Cab. Yeah, we should call a cab, she said as she dialed the number of the cab service. Hello, young lady, would you have a car, please? The woman gave the address. In a few minutes, she was already sitting in the car, continuing to dial her lover's number from time to time. Her anxiety was growing. Not remembering herself, she went up to Edward's apartment. Oh my God, she said when she saw that the door to the apartment was ajar. Am I too late? Her insides were shaking, and on unbendable legs, she strode into the living room and cried out desperately, Edward, my love.